What was the life of simple workers serving the emperor? No analyzing charts and heavy historical data. In the next couple of minutes, you will see only the life, wages, and entertainment of an ordinary Roman. Let's say our guy's name is Quadratus. Nothing surprising in those times really existed such a name, and on Roman tombstones it can often be found. To be more precise, it is about nickname because the names of Roman citizens are very colorful. They consisted of 3 parts nomina and cognomen. Or, to put it simply, we are talking about a name, a surname, and a nickname. In the last point, the Romans had a nickname, and it is the nickname that can be called a real unique name. For example, the Emperor Gaius Julius Caesar, a whole puzzle. Gaius is a personal name. Julius is a family name, and Caesar is a nickname, the meaning of which scientists do not understand until now. Some say that this was the name of the hairy, and some say that Caesar, translated as divine or in ancient Rome, was not such a salad. But not the point. The point is that the boys got their name from their father, IA. Emperor Caesar's father was also called Gaius Julius Caesar, and to somehow distinguish sons from their fathers, they used nicknames like senior, junior, or just ordinal numbers. Girls are even funnier at birth. The father's surname became their name, and they often got their surname from their husband. For example, the daughter of Gaius Julius Caesar got the name Julia, and after marriage to Gnus Pompey the Great Bee, she became Julia Pompey. Meanwhile, if there were many boys in the family, one of them took a second or even a third nickname. As a result, by the end of the Roman Empire, there were people with 5 names at once. Even the famous Caligula was also called Gaius Julius Caesar, and in order not to confuse him with his famous ancestor, the slaughtered Brutus, historians use in textbooks only about things that are nicknames of the emperor. But our mercenary is a simple laborer, so he has a common name. Let's say Lucius. Cinci and Lucius. One of our ancestors was the legendary Lucius Cinci, an Almond who fought against Hannibal. Even after 300 years, we continue to carry his name, and unique to us is the nickname Quadratus, the origin of which is also a mystery. Perhaps we like to eat too much. It is the 15th year of our era. The Roman Empire is stronger than ever, from the north of France to the middle of Africa. It owns everything, and the credit for that goes to its powerful army of legionaries, one of which is our Quadratus. By the way, we could only be called by the name Lucius by our relatives. Mostly people who didn't know us well used a surname or a nickname, so most often our mercenary was called Cinci or Quadratus. Our father, like the vast majority of parents of legionnaires, came from an ordinary poor farm. So as soon as Quadratus turned 18, he joined the army. Although it was forced, the conditions at that time were great. Not so long ago, Emperor Gaius Julius Caesar raised the salary of legionaries to 900 sestertii per year, which is about 9 gold coins, and 3 more are given as a bonus for contracting service. Historical data from the excavations of Pompeii says that a day a man could easily live on 2 sestertii. It is not surprising because 1 sestertius could buy as much as 4 bowls of soup. If anyone is interested in a very rough exchange rate for modern money, give for 1 sestertius 2 euros. For example, a liter of wine in the 15th year of our era. Quadratus could buy just 2 euros. And if the guy wanted a mule, it cost about 1,000. Not bad analogies with reality, right? But the term of service was terrible at 20 years. Before our era, sometimes it was only 6 years. But later in the life of our Quadratus, near the end of the 1st century, it was possible to go to jail for all 26 years. The good news is that there was no fun life in the civilian life, and especially for the poor laborers who worked 14 hours. So the fate of the legionary is not so bad, because at the end of the service, we're given 12,000 sesterces demobilization, and sometimes a very that piece of land. There are many stories about deceit, non-payment, and appropriation of lifeless territories to former legionaries as a reward for service. But our Quadratus is a good mercenary, and misfortune will pass him by, and it will be in 20 years. But for now, we are ahead of the legendary 4 months of training recruits. In the treatise of Vegetius on military affairs is written a banal but true phrase. The fact that the Romans were able to conquer the world can be explained only by their military training. Camp discipline and military practice, says Vegetius, and he is absolutely right. Unlike later formations, legionaries were machines after grueling training. Our Quadratus learned in 5 hours to walk 35 kilometers at a fast pace with 20 kilograms of equipment, and at the same time, he learned a complex system of commands given by mountain and banner. Roman generals believed that the preservation of formation is the main guarantee of victory. Given the results of the wars of Rome, it is difficult to argue with them. During the course of a young fighter, all the formation was practiced. Turtle, Cory, wedge, wooden sword fighting, archery. Quadratus will leave this place a perfect killing machine. And what is important, able to do everything not every modern army can boast of such care in serving its troops. Legionnaires were even taught to swim in their equipment so they wouldn't drown when crossing a river. The health of the legionnaires came first, and any product that came to our little Quadratus was tested. Even the water was thoroughly examined by officers so that the soldiers would not be poisoned, and if something went wrong or if they were injured in battle, ancient Rome had special sanitary units for the first time in modern history. There were medics in every region, infirmaries were built, and the sick soldier received the necessary help. Up to the present day, an inscription of an order from one of the legion commanders has survived, and it says that when storming a city, the camp should be set up several kilometers away from the besieged area. Why? So that the wounded would not hear the noise of the battle and would gain strength in peace. The Roman legionaries were divided into centuria and, more importantly, cantuberniums, small platoons of 8 men who carried everything together. The Roman idea was that these 8 men did everything together, from eating to sitting up at night, and when they went to war, the guys fought not primarily for the emperor, but for their cantubernium, that this 8 did together everything from eating to sitting up at night, and going to war. Guys fought first of all, not for the emperor, but for their cantubernium, for friends and comrades. And it was not only not forbidden, but also encouraged from above. In the priority of the soldier was first the life of comrades, then the prestige of centuria, and only then the status of the legion of 60 centuria. Romans revolutionized military affairs because on the battlefield side by side were not strangers to each other, but comrades living together for years. On many tombs of that time, there is a mention of the word brother, showing how far the bonds of soldiers went. However, similarities with the modern army were still there because all legions were constantly at war. Our Quadratus could well serve for a year somewhere as a policeman or construction worker. There are known cases when legionaries collected taxes or worked as guards in peacetime. The legion gathered once a year for Natalis Aquila, so-called birthday feast, demonstration drills, and various celebrations to maintain morale, which, although it was not always at its best, but allowed Rome to conquer half the world. But even in the campaigns, legionaries had something to do, because gambling flourished as never before. Guys played dice, heads and tails, which was called head or ship, and even in a complicated analog of crosses and tic-tac-toe, the game called mill wheel, and to win on the field required to place 3 chips in a row, and the most gambling invented a prototype of modern backgammon called tabula, in which they lost fortunes. It came to the point that tabula was banned by law, but clever soldiers found ways to slip away. We can only hope that our quadratus is not subject to gambling addiction. On average, in the Empire, only 60% of legionnaires live to retirement. But we should not forget that the figure is significantly spoiled by the frontline areas where legions could lose up to half of the soldiers per day. We should not pay attention to another prejudice. Even in textbooks, it is difficult to meet the phrase that life expectancy in ancient times was 30 years, and a 60-year-old was considered something incredible. It is a lie, and a lie of the grossest. The reason for this is the rate of infant mortality with the invention of antibiotics. It rapidly declined, which gave such a high average life expectancy. Because if you take an 80-year-old man and a 1-year-old child who died of disease, they lived on average 40 years each. That's how you get the low life figures of ancient times. But now scientists clearly state that if a person in ancient Rome lived to adulthood, his chances of living a happy old age were not much less than ours. So if old Quadratus survived 20 years in the army, he had a chance to have a beautiful wife by 40 and live in peace on a farm given by the state or bought for. Savings and vacation money. Yes, the life of a legionary is not easy, but can anyone call his own? One thing is certain. In ancient Rome, soldiers were not considered as trash. There was constant work on discipline, combat skills, and physical condition. The quality of food was controlled, and there were medics ready to help soldiers even on the battlefield. Whole centurions deserted, and in some places, same-sex relationships flourished, and some legionaries went crazy. In some places, same-sex relations flourished and some legionaries went crazy. But this is rather an exception to the rules, because at least at the peak of power, the Roman army was a machine comparable in organization to modern states, and our Quadratus thought that he was living a good life and fighting for something great, especially since there was a legal rest and good bonuses from the state ahead. If you want to know more about the ancient world, do not skimp on the likes and write about it in the comments. See you later, friends.